Welcome back, guys. So, if you're just tuning in or stumble upon this, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. So I already did the video for the box office breakdown, and I'm doing this one because I feel like it's interesting how the whole strikes are affecting a lot of production and a lot of films and TV shows moving forward, right? Essentially, the SAG strike and the Writers Guild strike is still ongoing. There's a lot of things that have paused production based on the whole situation, and it is getting to the point that I do feel that a lot of these projects are either going to get canceled or is going to be pushed so much that we're not going to have that much content or movies and TV shows coming out for the next like year or so due to these ongoing strikes, and it's kind of scary, right? I do think that there is another side of this, which whereas that maybe this would be the rise of like new media and studios, like new studios coming into fruition and actually making themselves successful. Like A24 is an indie studio, and I think that they're going to get a lot of projects out due to the fact that Hollywood is not operating, and not Hollywood itself, but mostly like the big studios from Hollywood that essentially make a lot of the content that we consume. This it's actually going to be something that you can mostly guarantee that a lot of the content that people are going to be watching is either going to be YouTube, TikTok, or indie films, right? Or indie TV shows. And I think the rise of also Eastern media is going to be something big, right? A lot of things that are from overseas, we're going to see probably a spike here in the United States based on the fact that a lot of the things that we consume and we are so invested in is going to be either canceled or completely pushed back to the point that it's going to be years before we get something, right? I'll link the articles below so that way you guys can actually take a look at it. But essentially these are all the award shows, which I'm not going to go through because, to be quite honest, like, how many of us actually watch award shows anymore? Like, that's for cable TV, and even if they do it through streaming, it doesn't really matter. A lot of people are tuned out. But these are all the films that have been delayed and all of the TV shows that have been delayed. I do want to highlight a couple of them because I feel like they're essentially very at least I think that they were set up to do good, and now unfortunately we're not going to see them in a while. So this one in particular, I think this one is the number one that I want to highlight, which is Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. It got delayed indefinitely. Not that it's going to be coming out in the next 2 years. The reports are there that probably it won't be released until 2026. That's 3 years from now. 3 years from now. That is insane. When I tell you it's insane, that's it's just insanity. Like, the amount of time and effort that a lot of people put into the last one, and the audience being broad, like that audience for that movie broadened, right? Because the first one came out years ago, and a lot of people didn't like look into it or actually caught whiff of it until it became available in streaming. And that's where it kind of blew up, and you can see the difference in the box office from when the first one started to now. It's insane. Like, 3 years from now, it's a lot, and a lot of people did not like the cliffhanger that the last one ended with, and I think that is a shame. I think that moving it indefinitely and delaying it because of the strikes is very telling. It's telling that they don't feel confident that a lot of these strikes will end by next month. A lot of people are saying, no, we think that by Labor Day they will have some sort of agreement, maybe past Labor Day towards the end of September. I don't see that happening. And the reason why I don't see that happening, aside from this one in particular, you have movies from Sony particularly, like they have moved Craven the Hunter from the 6th of October all the way to the 30th of August. So that's almost a year from now. They moved, let's see over here. There was another one that was supposed to be coming out this week. Yeah, so they moved Ghostbusters Afterlife 2 from December 2023 all the way to March 2024. So that tells me that a lot of these studios do not have confidence that a deal will be made by mid September or late September. Because why move your movies, right? If the strikes were going to be over by then, Ghostbusters Afterlife, you would have more than enough time to actually market and promote that movie. The same goes with Kraven the Hunter. Maybe it's a little bit less timing for Kraven the Hunter, but we already had a trailer come out. The people that were interested. The people that weren't. It is what it is. Like, I think that the actors and the whole the junkets, I think that's what's called, right? The junctions, or these big Hollywood press conferences are mostly for people that either work in the industry or work in tabloids or whatnot. Like, that's essentially what things are for. Your casual viewer doesn't really care for that. They are not going to sit down and watch an interview for an actor, of an actor for a movie, like a 2 hour 3 hour interview, and that's usually not the norm, right? So I don't think that delaying it will do any better. And for example, Kraven the Hunter, I don't think that moving it anywhere will do anything. Like, I don't think that movie is going to do particularly well. Maybe it's a sleeper hit, but I highly doubt it. I think that Sony doesn't understand that Venom was a one-off, because Venom is kind of its own character, right? Like, it's essentially like, Venom from Spider-Man, but Venom can hold its own. Kraven the Hunter, Morbius, a lot of these other movies that Sony is it has in the pipeline coming for Spider-Man villains. Did I say Spider-Man or did I say Superman prior to? I think I said Spider-Man. Anyway, a lot of them, a lot of people don't know of them or don't care enough of them if Spider-Man is not attached to it. And I think Kraven the Hunter is a perfect example of that. It's like, nobody cares for him unless Spider-Man is attached. So I think that Sony should rework their thinking with this whole Sonyverse and just attach a Spider-Man into it. Use Andrew Garfield, probably bring him to the table or make something enticing for him. And I think that you probably would have more people invested on these projects instead of, just wasting money for the sake of wasting money, right? But to talk about Kraven the Hunter, to Kraven Hunter's point, or my point of that this movie doesn't really matter where you put it, is not going to make money. I think that we should also talk about Disney's The Marvels, because I feel like it's also on that position. They're apparently, CBR.com is reporting, The Marvels, Disney is reportedly considering delaying the Captain Marvel sequel. Now, this one is particularly very interesting to me, because the reason as to why is obviously the strikes are part of it. But also the IMAX screening for that month, or at least that month and a half when this movie comes out, or the week after this movie comes out, is exclusively for Dune 2. So apparently Disney wants some cut or some of those IMAX screenings. But the reality is, I think that that's an excuse. It doesn't really matter where you put this movie. I don't think this movie is going to do particularly well. One, because a lot of people have been Disneyed out. A lot of people have not been supporting the company. And a lot of the recent things that they put out, I think that Guardians of the Galaxy was definitely a one-off. And Avatar 2 is their acquisition from it, but it's not from their brand. It's not something that Disney had prior to their acquisition of Fox. That's something that they actually came and stumbled upon because of that acquisition. So I think that those two are very much one-offs, but everything else has been a flop from them, especially when it comes to Marvel related, right? Secret Invasion just came out. Nobody cares for it. The lowest rated superhero, at least Marvel show that has come out in Rotten Tomatoes. That's terrible. Not even just the lowest, it's just that people aren't invested. The ratings, I don't think, are there, right? Miss Marvel, nobody cares for her. It flopped. She-Hulk flopped. Let's see, Quantumania flopped. A lot of the Marvel properties have just been flopping after flop after flop. after flop. And I think that this is not going to be one of those cases where, oh my god, no, it's a sleeper hit. To be quite honest, the only reason why the first Captain Marvel did so well was because it was stacked in between Infinity War and Endgame. So people thought that they had to watch it because something was going to happen. And then, to their surprise, nothing happened and they were duped. But again, great marketing on their end because they made $1 billion. But essentially, nobody cared for the movie. Nobody cared for the the character. It was meh. Like, nobody cares for this movie. So it's interesting to me that Disney is considering moving it because of the strikes and because of the fact that they're not going to have IMAX screening. Now, I feel like this movie shouldn't move whatsoever. Wherever you put it, it's still going to be a flop. If they're considering moving something, I would even suggest moving Wish, because I feel like that movie has a chance. It has a chance to make an audience, and it's a new Disney princess. I think that if they're going to do something or make something, or make a new audience for it, Wish should be the one that they should be considering moving, because I think that that is the movie that might probably help them savor the image, right? You have a new princess, it's a diverse tactic, which again, new and inclusive stories, which is what a lot of people, including myself, have been asking for. So I think that if there's something that they need to move, I think it would be that one. This one doesn't really matter where you put it. I think it's just not going to do that well. But I think that Disney's holding out into seeing whether or not Warner Brothers is going to move Dune 2, which it is also part of the talks. I think it's right over here. Right here. So Dune 2, the sequel to science fiction epic Dune, may be pushed back over the strike, according to Variety. The film's original release date was November 3rd, but Warner Brothers Film Group is considering a move. So I think that Disney's hoping on this. If this happens, then they'll probably just leave the Marvels where it is. But if this doesn't happen, they'll probably push it back. But again, regardless of whether or not this happens or not, I think that they should just leave it where it is. It's not going to do anything. I don't think people are that invested in the Marvels to merit a change. Like, I really don't think so. And then to just resume everything and just to completely closed out the video, I think a lot of these things are probably, I think Hollywood is probably going to end up utilizing this whole strike situation to their benefit and just canceling a lot of things just for the sake of it, and just, canceling a lot of contracts and then be like, well, you striked. So I think that it is a shame that a lot of these people are actually probably not working and that a lot of these things are happening. And it is a very important thing, I think, for me, that the strikes are going, because I think that a lot of people don't understand the business of it. And a lot of people that are in the business are probably not getting their fair share based on the amount of work that they put into it. But I do think that is also a blessing in disguise for Hollywood to be like, well, now that we have had time to think about it, maybe we should reconsider a lot of things and just gut a lot of things, because we have the perfect excuse to do so. And a lot of the things here on the list are perfect examples of things that they can probably cut. Like, for example, who wants to see Dirty Dancing, a sequel? Nobody wants that. Like, I don't think anybody asked for that. Like, that, just gut it. Euphoria, obviously RIP to Angus, and that is such a shame, 25 years old. But that is also another thing that they can just be like, well, there's a lot of things happening, just cut it. It's, by the time this comes out, nobody's gonna care for it, so it's gonna flop no matter if Zendaya is attached to it. Just they can gut it. I think they should gut Gladiator 2. There's no reason as to why they're making a Gladiator 2. Like, there's just a lot of things. The Karate Kid reboot, gut it as well. Like, just gut it. Lilo and Stitch, Rings of Power. Unless you're doing like a very, very much of a hard reset on that, just can it, people. Like, just can it. Like, there's a lot of things here that I'm like, just can it. Nobody cares for it. There's others that I'm like, okay, try to rework it and make sure that it actually works well. Stranger Things, I wouldn't even be surprised if they just say, like, you know what, it is what it is. By the time that goes back into production, these kids are gonna be like adults. So it's like, how are you gonna explain the whole cliffhanger when you see the kids and they're out here like looking, I don't know, 25? Like, it's a slippery slope where they're at. I do think that Netflix will probably utilize this to cut The Witcher completely, just to be like, we're out, because it'll probably save them from embarrassment. I mean, it's already embarrassing enough. So I think that this is like, there's two ways to see these things, and and I feel like Hollywood should probably focus more on seeing what they can do with these and rework it, so that way they don't lose a lot of money moving forward. And also consider that, hey, maybe we're taking too much from a lot of these people and we should probably cut it back. But that's enough. That's all I wanted to say. Is really much a shame that Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is getting delayed for such a long time. I was really hoping that that movie would come out earlier, and that people can have a close for Miles Morales' story, and that people get more invested in it, because I think that not only the animation is really good, I think that the story itself is telling that you can create a new original character even if you're using the mantle of one other popular character and still make it work and find an audience for it. So I don't know what do you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and all that good thing, and I'll catch you guys in the flip side. Peace.